It wasn't until after my genius ex-boyfriend died that I found out he'd been battling severe depression all along. I received a letter covered in incomprehensible math equations, accompanied by 4 simple words, to Mia. Now, thrown back 4 years, it's my turn to find the solution to the problem and dedicate it to him. The news exploded across headlines. The youngest Fields Medal winner had succumbed to depression. In the photos, his wrists bore a lattice of fresh and faded scars, the bathtub stained crimson with his blood. Reports claimed he'd been suffering from severe depression for the past 4 years. I couldn't believe it. How could someone so brilliant, so favored by fate, fall so far? The grief knocked me out cold, and in a half-dream, half-waking state, I slipped back to our high school days. Another impossible math problem unraveled effortlessly under Liam's pen, and I muttered in awe, "Liam, what kind of problem could ever stump you?" He stared ahead, silent for a beat, then said, "Life." I laughed, teasing him, "Liam, you just flunked English, life isn't a problem, it's a noun." Back then, I had no idea what those 2 words meant to him. 4 years ago, that was the year we broke up. I woke up slumped over a desk in a classroom. Beside me, a pair of pale, nimble fingers danced across paper, the handwriting sharp and elegant. I blinked, dazed, my gaze drifting upward to a face brimming with youthful clarity. "Liam?" The hand paused mid-stroke, and he turned to me with a soft, My brain hadn't fully caught up, but my body acted on instinct. I threw myself into his arms. "Liam." A flood of words clogged my throat, but all that came out were sobs. He stiffened for a moment, then shifted. I thought he'd pull away, so I clung tighter, only to feel his hand settle gently on my back, patting me like he was trying to soothe a child. "What's wrong?" I froze, then cried even harder. Just as I was about to squeeze him into my very soul, a thunderous cough erupted above us, ahem. My sobs choked off mid-breath, my body locking up. Liam felt me tense and gave my back a couple of light pats. "Class started," he said calmly. "Class started." I was still processing when another boom rattled my skull. "It's been 10 minutes since class began." The gruff, familiar voice of our physics teacher roared in my ears. "You too." To my office. I stood in front of Gary's desk, our homeroom teacher, bowing preemptively. Sorry, Mr. Gary, I messed up. I just had a nightmare." Gary sighed, exasperated. All right, stand up straight and talk to me." I straightened, lifting my head, and heard him suck in a sharp breath. Okay, how about this, you go home and rest today. We'll deal with whatever's going on tomorrow." It was exactly what I wanted. I grabbed Liam, who'd been standing silently beside me. "Thank you, sir. See you tomorrow." Before I could turn, Gary's eyes zeroed in on my hand clutching Liam's, his brow arching. I sheepishly let go, gave an awkward laugh, and nudged Liam toward the door. On the way back to the classroom, I hadn't even opened my mouth when Liam stopped short. "Wait here." I tilted my head, confused, watching him. His gaze flicked over my face. "Your eyes are swollen." I remembered how my eyes puffed up like walnuts whenever I cried and slapped a hand over them. Through the gaps in my fingers, I saw him duck into the boys' bathroom, emerging with a neatly folded damp handkerchief. "Put this on, it'll feel better," he said, handing it to me. I took it with a quiet thanks, then heard him add, "I'll grab your bag." I stood there, staring at his retreating figure, my eyes stinging again. How could someone so gentle like Liam end up with depression? I spent the whole night scouring the internet, trying to understand what depression was like. Words like hopelessness, loss of interest, insomnia, helplessness, and despair stabbed at my heart with every description I read. But in my eyes, none of these fit Liam. Ever since he started school, he'd been different from everyone else. He'd been competing in national and international math contests since he was 6, never once losing, earning the nickname Prodigy from a young age. By his sophomore year, he'd already received offers from top schools like Stanford and Princeton, often attending academic conferences we couldn't even begin to comprehend. He carried so many accolades that they built a wall between him and everyone else. People at school called him Liam the Legend, like he was some untouchable deity who didn't belong in our world. The only reason I got close to him was pure luck. I'd been his deskmate since freshman year. I had a crush on him, but it wasn't until the second half of sophomore year that I mustered the courage to actually talk to him. Even after we started dating, all we did was talk more. We never even held hands. If I had to describe our relationship in one phrase, it'd be a gentleman's friendship. The only time we ever crossed that line was when we broke up. I'd always looked up to him, so I never realized, when I threw myself at him crying in class, he'd hold me instead of pushing me away. The next day at school, my eyes were even more swollen. Gary took one look at me and jumped. Mia, don't tell me you got dumped or something? My dad and Gary were high school buddies, so we were pretty close off the clock. Quit messing with me, Mr. Gary. I'm not dating anyone, how could I get dumped? He burst out laughing. Oh, come on, it's teenage years, I get it. Besides, Liam's such a catch. My heart skipped a beat, but then he switched gears. But, Mia, you know Liam's already been accepted to Princeton early, right? Of course I knew, in my last life, Liam went to Princeton. Meanwhile, I'd busted my gut just to get into UCLA, a million miles away from Princeton's league. So, Mia, if you're really dating, it's gonna be tough. I clenched my fists as I left Gary's office. Damn it, Gary actually thought I had a crush and was hinting it'd never work out. He had no idea that, in my last life, Liam and I got together 2 months from now. Sure, we weren't together yet in this timeline. But it was only a matter of time. I smirked as I headed back to class, plopping down at my desk to stare at the empty seat beside me. Liam didn't need to take the SATs, and he could skip school whenever he wanted. Ugh, the perks of being a genius. During the break after second period, I was kicking myself for forgetting to get Liam's number yesterday when my best friend Olivia bounded over. Mia. She practically leaped in front of me, leaning in with zero volume control. Mia, I heard you tackled Liam with a hug? My eyes widened, and I lunged to cover her mouth, but she grabbed my hand first. Whoa, chill, chill. I shot her desperate looks. Don't spread rumors. But Olivia, the total airhead, completely misread me. She leaned in close, whispering excitedly, wait, did you confess to him or something? I locked eyes with Liam's clear gaze over her shoulder. Tell me, could I sacrifice my best friend to the heavens right now? I had no idea if Liam hurt her. I played it cool, greeting him like nothing happened, and he just nodded back, calm as ever, like the guy who walked me home yesterday wasn't him. I used to shrink back from his aloofness so many times before. But this time, during gym class that afternoon, I grabbed his arm and dragged him toward the little grove behind the field. Liam, I need to talk to you. On the way, I remembered the day we got together in my last life. It was during a late study session in class. I'd turned to ask him about a math problem, and just as he leaned in, the power went out across the whole building. The room went dead silent for a split second before erupting into chaos, kids slamming desks and hollering. The desk behind me jolted forward, knocking my chair and sending me tumbling sideways. Liam caught me. In the dark, I looked up, and my lips brushed his cheek. His hands froze on my arms, and amid the uproar, all I could hear was my own heartbeat. On impulse, I blurted, Liam, let's go out. Only after did I realize what I'd said. My face burned, and I tried to pull away with a laugh to play it off, but he held me still. Okay, he said. I never knew when Liam started liking me, but I knew I couldn't forget him for the next 4 years. No one else ever compared. I stopped under a big tree in a quiet corner, turning to him. Did you hear the last thing Olivia said? He nodded. Yeah. If it was true, would you say yes? He looked at me, quiet for a moment, then answered seriously, I would. I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding and smiled. Liam, let's go out. After he said okay, my eyes welled up for no reason. Liam, I had a nightmare yesterday. I thought of him lying cold in that bathtub in my last life and grabbed his hand, craving his warmth. I dreamed a really close friend got sick and didn't tell me, then just left. I asked, almost pleading, Liam, if you ever get sick, you'll tell me, right? He paused, then answered without hesitation, okay. I tried to smile, but my lips trembled. Cold? He started to shrug off his jacket, but I stopped him. I shook my head. Not cold. My eyes just hurt a little, blow on them for me, okay? I tilted my head up, grinning as I waited. Liam blinked, then obediently leaned in. The moment he dipped his head, I went up on my toes and pecked his lips. Our first kiss, both lives, quick and fleeting. There. Girlfriend privilege. Seeing his stunned look, I felt smug. As I started to pull away, he suddenly lifted his gaze, wrapping an arm around my waist. Up close, his eyes sparkled brighter than a galaxy. Privileges go both ways, he said, then leaned down and gave me a shy, deeper kiss. I noticed this Liam was different from the one I knew later. In my last life, he almost never took the lead between us. I'd ramble on forever and get no response, only to look up and find him staring off into space. I'd sulk, watching him until he snapped out of it, then ask, were you thinking about math again? He'd turn to me, earnest, and say, Mia, I'm sorry. In the 4 months we dated, the phrase he said most was, Mia, I'm sorry. Back then, I didn't know about depression. I really thought he owed me those apologies. He'd agreed to be with me but spent days lost in his own world, barely glancing my way. When I caught a cold and felt awful, everyone, even the teachers, noticed, but he stayed buried in his equations. When my grades slipped and I was upset, he was off shining at some math forum. Even my 18th birthday, which I'd reminded him about a dozen times for 2 weeks straight, he missed. I wasn't the type to demand or throw tantrums. I tried swallowing all my hurt, but it just lodged in my throat like a bone. But this Liam? He'd notice my swollen eyes, ask if I was cold, kiss me. Even if he didn't, I was resolute now, I wouldn't care. Still, I was so grateful I'd come back 2 months early. Maybe his depression was milder now, maybe it was a safe phase, maybe he didn't even have it yet. But I couldn't ignore it, something had to happen in these 2 months. I started paying close attention to Liam's daily life. The thing that stuck with me most was the watch on his left wrist. I remembered the photos clearly. Beneath that watch hid a horrifying web of scars. While he paused writing, I boldly grabbed his left hand, staring at the watch. Up close, I realized it wasn't something you'd find in stores, it looked handmade. Its face was packed with 5 mismatched gears, the gaps filled with tiny, jagged stones I couldn't identify. Nothing special stood out, but it gave me an uneasy feeling, like a weight pressing on my chest. I studied it, feigning curiosity. Liam, where'd you get this watch? It's so unique. My mom's, he said. I blinked. Your mom? Yeah. She's a mechanical engineer. So his mother made it. I relaxed a bit, but new questions crept in. I'd heard Liam came from a single-parent home. His mom, a powerhouse woman, raised him alone, still managing to buy a house in a nice neighborhood and fund his studies abroad. I'd seen her at a parent-teacher conference once, stylish wavy hair, striking features, like a beauty stepped out of a vintage painting. But in my last life, when Liam took his own life and the media dug into his connections, even Gary got interview requests, yet there was nothing about her. I hid my unease. Wow, your mom's amazing. I've never seen a handmade watch before, can I try it on? Liam glanced down at it, hesitating. My mom doesn't let me take it off. My stomach twisted. He didn't want me to see what was under it. I forced a smile to change the subject. Okay, fair enough. I decided to take a risk. Liam, can I come over to your place this weekend to study? You could tutor me in math. I expected him to say no, but after a moment's thought, he agreed. Okay. I already knew his number and address from my last life, but to avoid suspicion, I asked again. I even put on a mock stern face. Dating rule number 1, you have to reply to your girlfriend's texts and calls, got it? Okay. And rule 2, no hiding things, you tell me right away if something's up. Okay. Whatever I said, Liam just agreed. He was so good, it made my heart itch. I glanced around the noisy classroom during break, then beckoned him closer. Come here. He leaned in, puzzled, and I cupped my hands around my mouth, whispering near his ear. I snuck a quick kiss on his earlobe. Boyfriend, that's your reward. Seeing his ears flush red instantly, I plopped back onto my desk, satisfied. Back then, I almost drowned in the sweetness of young love, naively thinking I could erase the tragedy before it struck. That was until Saturday, when I went to the hospital's psych ward to ask about depression and spotted Liam leaving the room next door. I stood frozen for ages, waiting until he was out of sight before daring to approach the door he'd exited. I looked up at the doctor's bio on the wall, specializes in schizophrenia, depression, anxiety. My heart sank to the floor. That afternoon, I went to Liam's place. He was still in the casual clothes he'd worn to the hospital that morning. Liam, what did you do this morning? I asked casually, scanning his house as I spoke. He bent down to slip a pair of house shoes on my feet. Working on another proof for the Poincare conjecture. I gripped my backpack straps tighter. At home the whole time? He paused before answering, yeah. A shadow crept over my heart. But I remembered the doctor saying some depression patients withdraw socially, so I pepped myself up. Liam, did your mom make all these robots? His house was a rare shade of gray-blue, sparsely decorated, with metal robots of all shapes and sizes lining the living room. He headed to the kitchen to get me water. Yeah. She's at work today. I walked up to a robot as tall as a vase. Its head was covered with a paper shell on the back. Curious, I turned it around, and a clownish, blood-red grin stared back at me. My face went pale, and I hurriedly twisted it back before Liam returned, stepping away. Looking at the circle of robots again, a chill ran through me. They felt eerie now. Let's go to the study, he said. I swallowed my unease and followed him. The study was normal, no weird stuff, and I pulled a chair next to him, still feeling off. That blood-red grin and Liam's face kept flashing in my mind. I scribbled a few distracted lines before he gently grabbed my hand. He frowned, worried. What's wrong? I lied. I had another nightmare last night. He stared at me for a few seconds, and just as I thought he'd seen through me, he lifted a hand to my head, pulling me closer. He pressed a soft, comforting kiss to the corner of my mouth. Better? In that instant, I was convinced nothing couldn't be fixed. I grinned and nodded hard. Yeah. Study time flew by. When the sun dipped below the horizon, my mom called me home for dinner. I packed up. Liam, what are you eating tonight? He hesitated, a rare stumble. There's probably some dumplings in the fridge. I frowned. Your mom's not cooking? No. She's not back tonight. Single moms must have it rough. I felt an extra pang for Liam growing up like this. Then I made a big decision. Liam, come eat at my place. I want you to see my home too. He blinked. Is that okay? Of course. I grabbed his hand without a second thought. My parents are super welcoming. Welcoming was an understatement, they were over the top. I barely got Liam through the door and said, "This is my deskmate, Liam," before Susan, my mom, practically drooled, yanking him to the table. "Oh, you're Liam. Come, I just made some good stuff." Michael, my dad, tried to play stern at first, but after watching Susan chat Liam up, he couldn't resist jumping in. "You're that genius mathematician from the papers, right?" Liam answered stiffly, unusually formal. "I wouldn't say that." Michael waved a hand, piling his plate with pork. "Good kid, eat up, eat up." At a table of 4, I became the odd one out. I sat there with my untouched bowl, dazed, until I caught Liam's eyes peeking at me through the mountain of food. In both lives, it was the first time I saw him smile. That moment hit me. I'd give him my parents if I could. The doctor said depression patients usually show clear emotional lows. Lately, Liam's mood seemed fine, but I didn't dare let my guard down. When he started skipping school more often, I got wary. I'd text him randomly throughout the day, he didn't always reply right away, but he'd always get back to me with an explanation. But after a full week without seeing him, panic set in. I deliberately sent him a WeChat at 3 a.m. I've decided math is my mortal enemy. Angry, I attached a pic of a tough problem. Nervously waiting 2 minutes, I got his reply, surprising yet not. He sent a photo, 3 neat, detailed solutions to my problem. I didn't even glance at them. "Liam, why aren't you asleep? Doing problems?" My hand shook. "Do you have insomnia?" "Yeah." My heart raced, and after a long pause, I typed, "Then let me talk you to sleep, okay?" Before I could send it, another message popped up. Some gut feeling told me what was coming. I scrolled up and saw it. "Mia, I'm sorry." It was like a curse unlocking Pandora's box. Disaster hit me out of nowhere. I fumbled to call him, forcing my voice steady. "Liam, why were you apologizing?" Silence stretched on before his tired voice came through. "I don't know." Then, almost reflexively, "Sorry." I bit my lip. "Liam, there's nothing to be sorry for. Insomnia is normal. Look, I'm up late stressing over math too." I tried to sound upbeat, but my words jumbled. "Insomnia is like a cold, it's a sickness, but it can be cured." I stopped, then asked, "Liam, are you taking meds?" I remembered seeing him at the hospital. "Yeah." I calmed down a bit. "Does it bother you when I talk? Can I keep you company?" "Okay." I cradled my phone, lying in bed, rambling on. "Remember Olivia, that goof? I told her a couple days ago I'm your girlfriend, and she didn't believe me, said I was daydreaming. Liam, next time let's show off in front of her and rub it in, okay?" "Okay." My parents keep talking about little Liam at home, saying their perfect cabbage got snatched by a pig. You won't believe it, they think I'm the pig. Liam, know why they don't mind me dating? I didn't wait for an answer. 'Cause they dated in high school too. I heard dad chased mom's senior year and tanked her grades. Michael still gets grief for it, kneeling on a washboard, ha. I laughed loudly, but tears soaked my pillow silently. I sniffled, grinning. "Little Liam, come eat at my place again soon, okay?" He paused this time before saying, "Okay." I wiped my eyes, chattering on with forced cheer, laughing at the fun parts. I don't know how long I talked. My eyelids drooped, my voice faded. Liam hadn't spoken in a while, so I thought he'd fallen asleep. I couldn't hold on either, slipping into a haze. Before I fully drifted off, I mumbled over and over, "Liam, it'll be okay, I'm here, it'll be okay." Right before I blacked out, I faintly heard a sigh. He said, "Mia, don't cry. I can't kiss you." I dreamed of the first day of freshman year, meeting Liam. Michael insisted on driving me to school, but the GPS screwed up, and I was late. I heard the opening ceremony starting on the field and rushed to drop my bag in the classroom. At the door, I crashed into someone, nearly bouncing off, but they grabbed my waist. Sorry, I stammered, looking up into Liam's stunning face. Later, on the field, I saw him give the freshman welcome speech. That's when I learned his name, Liam. He stood on stage in a suit, sharp and radiant, while I hid in the crowd, my heart pounding. 90% of the girls in school liked him. They'd line up outside our classroom just to peek at him. Eventually, the school had to send teachers to shoo them away. 3 days in, a girl from our class confessed to him right in front of me, handing him a love letter. I sat next to him as he politely thanked her, didn't take it, and instead gave her a sheet of paper. "If you can solve this," he said. The school went wild. Solve that problem, and you could date Liam. A math craze swept through, until someone Googled it. It was called the Riemann hypothesis. No girl dared approach him after that. I quietly tucked away the paper I'd copied the problem onto, sealing it in my math book, vowing to hate math forever. I jolted awake from the dream, threw myself together, asked Gary for a day off, and took a cab to Liam's place. After hesitating at his door forever, I couldn't shake my worry and rang the bell. When it opened and I saw him standing there, unharmed, I couldn't hold back. I threw myself into his arms. "Morning, Liam." He clearly wasn't expecting me, but he hugged me back. "Mia." His voice sounded so worn out. I pulled back, saw the dark circles under his eyes, and my chest ached. "Let me stay with you, okay?" He never turned me down. He stepped aside, pulling me in. The AC was on, but he wore a turtleneck sweater. Something felt off. I set the breakfast I'd brought on the table. My mom's pumpkin porridge is the best. I'd just arranged it cheerfully when footsteps approached, followed by a key turning in the lock. I froze, looking at Liam. He grabbed my wrist, his voice low. "Mia, my mom's back." Before I could process his grim expression, he yanked me into his bedroom. "Wait here." Right before shutting the door, he added, "Don't open it." I stood there, dazed, listening to the clack of heels outside. They stopped somewhere, and muffled voices drifted through. Only one line came clear: "Why don't you just die?" Then came odd metallic clanks and a heavy thud. I couldn't stay put. I flung the door open. A slender figure stood by the table, fiddling with some wire. To her side, Liam knelt shirtless on the hard marble floor, head bowed like a lifeless puppet, his hair dripping with sticky liquid, my pumpkin porridge. My breath stopped. My foot twitched, and Liam's head snapped up. He looked at me. With a look I'd never forget, one I'd never dare recall. He was begging me not to come out. Begging me not to see. I used every ounce of strength to slowly close the door. I clapped a hand over my mouth, sliding down the wall, tilting my head back to trap the tears. Through the door, I heard metal striking flesh, dull thuds, and a voice dripping with venom. "It's all your fault, all your fault." I hated myself so much then. Hated my powerlessness, my ignorance about Liam, my last life. It was the longest, most agonizing moment of my existence. And to think this might have been just a mundane sliver of Liam's decade-plus life made it hurt more. I don't know how long it was before Liam crouched in front of me. My vision was too blurry to see his face, but somehow I still caught his concern. He was worried about me. "Mia, I'm sorry," he said softly, wiping my tears with his fingertips. "I didn't know she'd come back today." I grabbed his hand, frantically drying my eyes to check him over. No marks on his face, his hair wet, now in a black shirt, he'd cleaned up. But his collar was pulled high, awkward and ugly. A chill hit me. My trembling hand reached for it, voice breaking. "Liam." He caught my fingers this time, sighing. "It's not pretty." I stared, silent. He relented, letting go. When I saw the red marks on his pale skin, one fresh, two older, I shook uncontrollably. I finally got why he wore turtlenecks even when others were in thin shirts. It wasn't the cold. Holding my breath, I lifted his hem. The scars I hadn't seen clearly before crisscrossed his body, stark and undeniable. I couldn't even touch them, afraid it'd hurt. How could his own mother? I choked out, "Liam, does it hurt?" He smiled at me. "You're hurting for me, so it doesn't hurt anymore." It was the longest he'd ever spoken to me. He told me about his mom. His dad was abusive, and she'd left with 1-year-old Liam. A single mom in a strange city, she clawed her way up, scavenging trash heaps by day, teaching herself engineering from scrap metal. Life was brutal, but she'd skip meals for days to give him a cake on his birthday. Exhausted, she'd still take him to the park near their house at dusk, shielding him from bullies. Then, when he was 8, maybe after a rain, maybe just a sneeze, something snapped. She flew into a rage, blaming him for ruining her life, cursing him. The next day, sober, she'd sob for forgiveness. It happened again and again, yelling, apologizing, then hitting, apologizing. Eventually, she'd forget what she'd done. Anxiety, mania, mild schizophrenia, selective amnesia. Mia, she's just sick, Liam said, echoing what I'd told him. Like a cold, it'll get better. She hadn't had an episode in a while. I couldn't speak, my throat tight. Does she know now? She forgets when she wakes up. You hide it from her? She couldn't handle it. What about you? I asked. Liam, what about you? I can take it. How could he take it? He was sick too, didn't he know? She'd drag him into the abyss someday. I wanted to scream it, but I couldn't. The doctor said if a depression patient still opened up, it was a good sign, but I wasn't relieved. I held his hand. Liam, she needs a hospital. I've been taking her to doctors. No, she needs to go herself. She's too proud to accept it. At 17, I was fearless and naive. Liam, let's try. He thought it over, then trusted me completely. Okay, we'll try. Years later, I'd replay that conversation, unable to sleep, burdened by a lifetime of guilt. In early November, Liam's mom checked into a hospital. The day she went in, I hid behind a tree outside, watching them talk. Without makeup, she looked pure, angelic. I was mesmerized. In the soft autumn morning light, she turned and smiled at me, warm and breathtaking. Weirdly, I couldn't hate her. Liam started shuttling between school and the hospital, saying her condition improved daily. We both believed she'd recover soon. Liam's own state got better too, his depression eased from moderate to mild, barely affecting him. He said he wouldn't go abroad until she was well, planning to attend UCLA first, so I aimed for the same top school. I studied like crazy, sneaking in time to date Liam. The night the school lost power, I stole a kiss on his cheek in the dark. When the lights flicked back on, it felt like our future was igniting too. Squinting, I asked something I'd always wondered. Liam, why do you like me? He paused, then drew a coordinate plane on paper, scattering random dots before adding a slanted line through the middle. I frowned. Linear regression? He nodded, pointing to the dots. That's my existence. Then the line. That's your meaning. I didn't get it, but it didn't stop me giggling and bragging to Olivia. She looked at me like I was dumb. Even a genius's love lines are cheesy. I huffed, proud. You just don't get Liam's romance. Olivia wasn't the only one mocking me, Michael and Susan did too. I'd study till dawn, and they'd tease I was risking my life for love. They seemed chill, but I knew if I let dating tank my grades, they'd nix it, no matter how great Liam was. They'd only support it if I kept improving. Back then, I was brimming with faith in me and Liam, forgetting Pandora locked hope in her box. In March, 101 days before the SATs, the day I broke up with Liam in my last life, I sent him my usual good morning text. When he didn't reply at first, I figured he was busy at the hospital. He didn't show up at school that afternoon, and I got curious, calling him. No answer after a few tries. I started to worry. But it was my grandma's birthday, and we'd planned a family dinner after school. I'll admit, months of calm had dulled my instincts. I didn't rush to find Liam. At 10 p.m., back from grandma's, I saw my unanswered messages piling up and felt a jolt of dread. I waited till the house was quiet, my parents asleep, then slipped out. I'd barely tiptoed past the living room when a low voice stopped me. Were you going this late? My heart froze. I turned. The room was dark, Michael standing by the balcony door, a cigarette glowing red in his hand. He was usually a joker, but crossed his line, and he was dead serious. I felt his sternness even through the shadows. Lying wouldn't work, I went with half-truths. I'm going to Liam's. I gripped my shirt. I haven't heard from him all day. I'm worried. His tone was icy. Then call the cops. Finding people's their job, not yours at midnight. He knew me too well, he sensed I was holding back. Just like I knew him, he'd never accept this if he knew the full story. Dad. I pleaded. When I chased your mom at 18, I never let her go out alone at night. He stubbed out his cigarette, stepping closer. No good reason, you're not leaving. I had no choice. Liam has depression. My eyes welled up again. Dad, I'm sorry, but I have to find him. I twisted the knob, trying to bolt, but he grabbed my arm. We stared each other down in silence for seconds before he let go. Put on a jacket. I'll drive you. Halfway there, rain started, soft at first, then pouring, thunder rumbling. I remembered breaking up with Liam in my last life on a rainy day like this. We'd planned dinner after school, but I waited from sunset to moonrise, and he never showed. It wasn't his first no-show, but that spring rain was brutal, the night wind biting, and I felt extra wronged. His indifference, broken promises, calm demeanor, they swirled in my head. I trudged home soaked, caught a fever, and texted him to end it. No reply. I was crushed, doubling down on the breakup. He stopped coming to school. I worried, wondered, but a month later, he showed up out of nowhere, saying, "Sorry." I saw he looked off, felt a pang, then he added, "But I won't break up." He said it so firmly, I couldn't fathom his nerve. "Liam, it's not up to you," I snapped. He gripped my wrist, eyes red. "Mia, I'll die." I didn't hear it as a cry for help then. Shocked, I pegged him as one of those creeps who threatened death over a breakup. How could you be like that? Years later, I regretted doubting him. But the past was set. I didn't think the famous Liam needed my apology. I'd only seen his brilliance, never his cage, never that I'd been his lifeline. And before he fell into the abyss, I'd pushed him. We didn't find him at his place, so we drove toward his mom's hospital. Passing the park by his neighborhood, I felt a pull and got out. In the misty rain, I saw Liam curled under the slide, like an abandoned kid. I ran to him, hands shaking, unsure where to put them. He looked up, eyes hollow. His voice was faint, fragile against the rain. "Mia, I don't have a mom anymore." We brought Liam home. He took his meds and passed out. It was late. Overnight, he spiked a fever, mumbling, "It's my fault, my fault." I ached for him, drowning in guilt. I stayed up till dawn. His fever broke, but he didn't wake. Michael, who'd watched outside all night, brought breakfast and called me out. I sat across from him, dazed, sensing what was coming. "Got you a day off," he said. I blinked, unexpected opener. "Today's your SAT 100-day rally, right?" "Gary's a pain," took some convincing. He sipped his porridge, calm. "So, kid, what's your plan?" I'd braced for a lecture or a breakup order, not this. I swallowed, voice rough. "I'm staying with him." How long?" "Till he's better." He met my eyes. "Months? Years?" I held his gaze. "Forever if I have to." His pupils shrank, he looked away, chuckling dryly. "And the SATs? You dropping out?" I was so close to UCLA, just a little more effort. I paled. "I can study at home, when he's asleep, but..." "The doc just mentioned suicide risk, 24/7 watch, you know what that means?" I dropped my head, then lifted it. "I can take a gap year, retake later." His eyes chilled, my heart quaked, but I stood firm. "I can't abandon Liam." His voice matched his stare. "And what about me and your mom? Why should we let you throw everything away?" I bowed my head, ashamed. "Dad, I'm sorry, please, feel for Liam. I'm your dad, not his." "You will be." He laughed, exasperated, pacing. "You're not thinking straight. We'll talk when you are." He started to leave, I stopped him. "Dad, I'm clear-headed. I asked you once if you regretted chasing mom and messing up her college shot. You said she might have, but you never did. It's selfish, but some people, some things, you'd choose them no matter what." "Dad, I'm sorry. Liam's my choice." He paused at the door. I don't know what he thought. "If that's your call, I hear you," he said. I was lucky to have such open-minded, rational parents. They never forced their views on me, always respected my choices. I knew how ungrateful this was. But seeing Liam stare blankly out the window, silent, like a shell, I'd lost him once. I couldn't again. I touched his head, calling him. Half an hour, no response. I stepped away to grab food, he grabbed my hand, feather light. I stopped, soft. "What's up?" His eyes were unfocused. "Want me to stay?" No answer, but I sat beside him and didn't leave. I babbled about funny stuff till he dozed off again. He got sleepier, threw up after eating, stared into space daily. On day 3, I went to pour hot water and came back. He wasn't in bed. He sat at the study desk, pen in hand, hunched over paper. For a second, I thought he was back. "Liam." He looked up, lost. After days, his first words to me were, "I think I forgot how to do math." Then, "I might be sick." Then, "Mia, do you still want me?" I hugged him, repeating how much I needed him. He took his meds and slept. Gary called, gushing about the 100-day rally, telling me to rest and come back soon. My parents hadn't told school I was taking a break. I couldn't say it either. They didn't push, like they'd accepted it, but I didn't want to quit. I studied in the living room while Liam slept, thinking I could balance it. Another nightmare, Liam dead in the tub. I woke sweating, ran to his room, he was gone. In the bathroom, there he was, in the tub. Too cruel. I screamed his name, crying. He cried too, muttering, I should die, I should die." My heart shattered. After that, I never left his side. I locked away anything dangerous in another room. I slept by his bed, watching him drift off first. If Mom didn't bring food, I'd forget to eat. I was exhausted, but I hid every bad feeling from Liam. Even with my parents, I faked smiles, pretending I was fine. I felt suffocated, but quitting never crossed my mind. I used to think Liam was beyond normal rules, sharpest mind, insane self-control, tough enough to stay pure despite his mom's illness and 4 years of severe depression, even finishing groundbreaking math work. I thought he mostly saved himself from depression, that I wasn't crucial. But that sudden storm showed me my role. Last life, at the 100-day rally, Gary had us write notes for a time capsule, to claim years later. I'd written, "The road is long, the journey far, my heart yearns, no distance too great." I was chasing Liam then. This year, I missed it, so at Liam's place, I found a little glass bottle and wrote, "Mia is Liam's home." I showed it to sleeping Liam, bragging, "Liam, I get your confession now." I fell asleep by his bed, vaguely feeling someone touch my face, tender, careful. A week later, a miracle, he woke up clear. He ate breakfast, took his meds, said thanks. I hugged him, nuzzling his cheek. "Liam, it'll be okay." He improved a bit, and I felt alive again. 2 days later, Susan came with food, and I shared the good news. Then she got a call. "What? Mom fell and she's in the hospital?" I froze as she hung up and rushed out. "Grandma hurt?" I fretted, unsure what to do, when Liam appeared behind me. First time he asked, "What's wrong?" I perked up. "Nothing, let's eat." He grabbed my face, pulling me close. "Mia, I'll get better." His forehead pressed mine, eyes sparking again. "Trust me, okay?" I did, how could I not? I beamed. "I trust you. I believe in Liam most." He kissed the corner of my mouth. That night, Michael showed up. "Your grandma's asking for you in the hospital, gonna see her?" Susan had said I didn't need to go, but I'd been worried. "Liam's asleep, right? I'll watch him, go quick." I glanced at Liam's peaceful face, hesitating. Okay. Grandma was family, I couldn't not care. I trusted Michael completely. I didn't expect to reach the hospital and find no one. I called Mom, she stammered, "Mia, sorry." Ice ran through me. I raced back. Liam was gone. Michael sat in the living room, smoking, watching me tear through the house like a madwoman. When I gave up, collapsing, he spoke. "He's gone." I glared, eyes red. "To Princeton." I couldn't believe it, voice hoarse. "Dad, you're killing him." Seeing his face harden, I regretted it instantly. He'd handled Liam's mom's affairs, indulged me, how could I say that? I broke down, sobbing. "Sorry, I was just so scared for Liam. They'll get him the best shrinks in the world. A genius like him, plenty want to save him." Michael crouched, patting my head. "Mia, it was his choice." Teenage helplessness hit hard. All my guts and grit couldn't beat a plane ticket. Michael said if I got into UCLA, he'd bankrupt himself to send me to Princeton. But even then, a Princeton exchange spot would take till junior or senior year. 3, 4 years, could Liam wait? He told me to trust him. Where'd he get that confidence? I didn't trust myself, he was the fool. What if I failed? I poured all my Liam time into studying, blocking out doubts. SAT day, I knew I'd nailed it, but I wasn't happy. Olivia dragged me to the grad party, telling me to bring Liam. No one knew what he was going through, they thought he was still shining nearby. I felt a vague sadness. This life's grad photo still lacked Liam. I'd changed nothing. Self-doubt and guilt swallowed me. I dreamed of Liam or his mom nightly, I always felt I'd killed her. I stopped eating, talking. Days later, Michael said we'd go on a trip to clear my head. I wasn't keen but didn't want him fretting. The car stopped at the embassy. I blinked, confused. He yanked me out. "Go, get a visa." I stared, lost. He scoffed. "Pathetic, falling apart in days." He pulled out a ticket to New York. "This is the only one I'm buying, next one's on you." Then he backtracked. "No, wait, I'm broke, this comes out of Liam's future dowry." He rambled. I teared up, hugging him. I had the best dad ever. Plane landed in New York. Liam's private doctor's assistant, Robert, picked me up. He tried broken English. "Hello, I'm here to be your driver, doctor's helper." Good thing I'd aced college English. "It's just over an hour from New York to Princeton." Maybe it was nerves, the closer we got, the shakier I felt, barely answering Robert. He smiled. "Liam's doing okay, don't worry. He's different from other patients." He tried to end it once but called for help at the last second, rare for depression cases. Maybe 'cause he's a genius, you know, they're special. Liam wasn't a genius, he was a big dummy, leaving me without a word, making me cross oceans to find him. I wanted to yell at him, hit him, but seeing him in the yard, staring off, all my anger melted. I ran up, stopping short, and covered his eyes from behind. "Guess who?" I said in English. He froze, then rasped, "Mia." "Nope, wrong." He grabbed my hands, trembling. "Mia." I gave up, switching to Chinese. "Who's Mia?" He stuck to one word. "Mia." I let go, stepping in front of him, his eyes were red. "Listen up, Mia's your future wife." I grabbed his collar, fierce. "Try dying again, and I'll be a widow." Word spread at Princeton about me, a Chinese girl chasing love across the world. Nurses and docs hounded me for gossip till I snapped. "Liam owes my dad a plane ticket, so dad sent me to collect a dowry." Yep, the legend became my dad's. When Liam heard, he took it seriously, handing me his bank card. "Enough?" I gaped at the zeros on his account. "How do you have so much money?" "Some projects, awards, decoding stuff for the military. I never spend it. I didn't know my boyfriend was loaded." "Enough for what?" He tilted his head. "To marry you." I blushed hard, stammering, "Liam, I'm not even legal yet." "Then I'll book you," he said earnestly. I was speechless. His depression kept improving, but he'd stay at Princeton for research while my UCLA acceptance waited back home. The day I left, he insisted I take the card. I gave in. Packing, I found a glass bottle in his nightstand, like the one I'd used at his place. Inside was my note, "Mia is Liam's home." Below, in his neat script, "If life has an answer, she's the only solution." 3 years later, Liam, the youngest Fields Medal winner, did an interview. "Mr. Liam, you focused on the Poincare conjecture. Why switch to Riemann 3 years ago?" He smiled, nostalgic. "A love letter. It's for my love." Everyone thought his lover was another math genius. Even I started to. I grilled him. "Who'd you write that love letter for?" "Why didn't I know?" He explained that freshman year, when a girl confessed, he'd given her the Riemann hypothesis. One day at his place, he found a paper slip from my math book with a date, my anti-math oath day. I dug through his nightstand and found it. On the back, his recent proof of the problem, and, to Mia. Senior year, Liam was just pulling out of endless fog. I slept exhausted by his bed. He watched me, lost in thought, when Michael came in, leaning on the door, smoking. "Princeton's got good healthcare, huh?" He eyed Liam. "Just a heads up. Before college graduation, I debated grad school at UCLA or joining Liam at Princeton." At dinner, Michael said I'd already done a year at Princeton junior year and would go eventually, why not stay home longer? I agreed, but Liam grabbed my hand. "Princeton's got a great setup, especially medical. Haven't you had headaches lately?" Michael glared across the table. Liam turned, smiling warmly. "Dad, just a heads up,